Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Spotlight. Today, we are exploring the hidden financial uh, realities behind creative and cultural spaces, focusing on the Garden of Arts. I am thrilled to be joined by a very special guest, Mr. Pala Uppal, the chairman of Garden of Arts.
Thank you.
Mr. Uppal brings over 35 years of experience in corporate business and IT and has been teaching Indian classical for nearly 40 years. That's an impressive thing, sir.
Thank you.
He is the founder of UFAME Music Academy and serves as the principal advisor to the project. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Pala Uppal.
Thank you for
It's an
having me.
absolute pleasure. To begin with, when people visit Garden of Arts, they often see it as purely creative and cultural space. But from your perspective, how you describe it as a financial structure, sir?
Yes, it's a very good question. I think it is cultural, but underneath all this, to make anything work, there has to be a financial structure, as
Yeah.
you allude. And that financial structure, it will exist in many forms. You have to raise the money
Yeah.
in order to sort of execute, your plan. An example is any event that you're going to put up, and any plays or any community activity. All that must have a financial driver with in certain instances is profitability. But in our case, we are a CIC company with a non-profit making company. Even then, there has to be sustainability of the organization that you set up. An example is really the financial structure would be quite simple. Any business, and you can operate in that framework. You need a mission, vision. You need a business case. In a framework, your objectives. What are you trying to achieve? And some kind of cash flow. And then you need to develop your assets and your operational environment, which is, your office space, your administration, and all those are, underneath the culture aspect. It's no different to any other business. Even though, as I said, we're non-profitable, but even there has to be some kind of gain so that you can actually use that finance to deliver your project.
Okay, that's an impressive answer, sir.
Thank you.
Can you walk through the main source of funding that supports Garden of Arts?
Yes, I mean that's as I can,
Yeah.
and it's been a challenge. I think it's like any other business when you first start. You're very limited with the resources, especially financial. You've got no assets either. So you've got to operate in an environment which is, there's no cash flow. So why, in terms of Garden of Arts, we're young, we're just coming up to a year, and just quite amazing how much we've actually achieved within a year. However, to answer your question, a lot of the funding was, the directors actually contributed a lot themselves. And then we had some community grants come in as well. We did quite a few events. They gave us some support, some sustainability to the operational model, as you said. We were able to do that. But net at the moment, Garden of Arts is not obviously a cash-rich company. We're still investing, and we're still trying to deliver, our objective, which is really community service, yeah.
So you think it's not a company, it's an emotion to your directors, like they contribute themselves?
Yes, I think it's like any other place, you have to start from the beginning. And, it's a passion. Kishore Paji, there were two other directors who were no longer with us. And, we knew that it was going to be a challenge. But, we have a passion.
Yeah.
We have a passion to deliver,
Arts.
Virashkanda, and we want to serve the public, and that's going to take a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So I always say, when I do my chairman's speech, I normally say, I have a dream, and I want to make sure the heritage, the cultural aspect, all that is sustained and delivered to the public, because I think it's being lost at the moment.
Okay. So your work focuses strongly on community engagement,
Yes.
especially with young people. So how does this social impact influence funding opportunities?
It's a very, I think it's a challenging question. The challenge we have is, I think the team itself, the leadership team, was quite mature. We all came from, artistic backgrounds. I was a musician. Kishore Baji was obviously, from the drama, performing arts background, and he has collaboration with Seva Taliwal Baji Huni. All those people. So a lot of history there. And then we had writers, and then musicians, players. So there's a lot of artistic available. Yes, the leadership was quite mature, at least to say. And you look at us and probably say, well, this is quite an old generation. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of experience there. I'm a musician myself, and I teach at quite a good level. And there was Kishore Baji, he's obviously a consultant, financial consultant, and he had access to his backgrounds from performing arts. He had access to other people's sources of support. Seva Taliwal, which is obviously quite a well-known name, he could tap into obviously some support. Now, all that's very good. We've all been there and done it and seen it. But where do the young people? That is the challenge. When we start looking at the young people, and I have thought about this in quite detail, is young people are looking for opportunity. They are just building their careers. They're looking to come to Garden of Arts and give them something, a platform. And financially, obviously, they need support. And finance, you're obviously in the hands of universities, and you haven't got that flexibility in terms of funding. So when you go into young people, the challenges of funding become, or financial support becomes even more difficult, because you'd expect it to provide it to them rather than take from there. So how do you attract young people? I think you attract them by good projects. Virashkanda is a great project for people who are looking for a platform in performing arts, music. It'll be a theoretical team which will go from state to state, from theatre to theatre around the country, and that's our dream. So we can provide the environment for them, but to keep on attracting them, we have to obviously think of good projects and a platform for you to come and enjoy. But at the same time, the challenge is finding the funds, and that's where probably a sort of mature head comes into and say, well, okay, we can do X, Y, and Z and support these projects.
That's a very great answer. I think mostly the youngsters would be interested in coming, and they would have interest in some art related things, and youngsters are meant to be have young minds, and they have different mindsets, and they come with their ideas to support the project.
Absolutely.
So I hope.
And that's where and it's taken us a good 6 months to attract people. And the University of Birmingham, so Dr. David Powell and their leadership, the Culture Forward organisation, they've been absolutely fantastic, and really thanks to David, and who's really helped us materialise this work that you guys are doing in defining Virashkanda. It really is a godsend.
What are some biggest financial challenges you are facing while running and maintaining such initiatives?
Yes, it's finding the right initiative. I think that is really the key, as you said.
Yeah.
You know, it's a balance between attracting young people, you know, doing some community work for the older generation, like the Gidda class.
Yeah.
You know, we offered it to a lot of the older generation, where we took blood pressure, you know, we took BMI, and there's a 6-month program. We tried sort of, you know, help them lower their BMI through Gidda
Yeah.
and Bhangra.
Yeah.
We had great instructions. Though we had funding, we didn't actually charge people, and you know that was a challenge in terms of funding. So it's a matter of finding the right event where we can actually, you know, generate the revenue, and yet obviously find some gains there. It's not profit, I don't want to call it profit, but it is in a way, so they can reinvest and give you more opportunity in terms of you know, platforms and activity and serving the community. Yeah. So that's a challenge, and finance is always a challenge, and I'm sure hopefully next year we will be sort of capital rich, you know, towards the end. That's my ambition, you know.
Funding is often unpredictable. How do you manage when grants end or financial support is like reduced?
Excellent question, and we've had good experience of that.
Yeah.
And that's where, to be honest, sometimes you can get demotivated.
Yeah.
You know, we people.
Yeah, we are
you know.
humans. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have
definitely-
you know, though we have a lot of, you know, there's a lot of motivation, a lot of drive, and you know, I come from the corporate world. I'm retired, and even then, you know, it does affect you and say, well, hang on, what now? We had 6 months of funding for the class, and the class, we didn't want to charge people. We wanted to serve the community, and the turnout was absolutely fantastic. You know, we had about 30 people, you know, every session for 6 months. Although on occasions, you know, there were less, but you know, generally that's when people that's the kind of count you're talking. Well, you know, that had a cost related to it, which was really the instructor cost, the cost from the place, hiring of that, and the fund ran out in 6 months, and we spent all the money. All the kind of the good work, the blood pressures, the monitoring, the BMIs and graph plotting and everything, you know, all the, you know, the data, although it's very confidential, okay, the data protection, you know, halted because we couldn't charge people.
Yeah.
We didn't have any more funds, and we went to obviously the authorities, and there was no more money.
Yeah.
And they're all obviously challenges there as well. Not every local authority is fully capital rich, so you've got to find it, and that demotivates you because you know, project comes to an end. You say, well, hang on, this was so much effort. We got it just to a point. Now we can't take it forward. So that is I think the answer to your question.
Yeah.
I'll answer it in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like I think any project I have seen, they face financial problems and they overcome it like in a very beautiful way, and that's how you are also doing the same thing, I guess.
Absolutely. You know, that's a test. You know what they say, that's a means test. You know. When things get hard,
Yeah.
that's the time to say, well, no, I'm going to make this work. And from where I come and the type of person I am, I don't look for financial gains. A lot of people come into this game, even though it's a CIC non-profiting. You know, people came and they were looking for monetary returns, you know, and they didn't see that, and they didn't feel it was a place for them, and they left. But for myself and certainly for Kishore Baji, for both of us, this is something we really do want to do, and we're both passionate about it. You know,
I think the most important thing when finance is you need to have passion. You need to have the positive energy
absolutely
to
right.
reach till the goal and like have that particular thing get attained properly and like I think the most important thing for you guys is like community. That's it. And to like reach out to people and talk about the heritage that you have and let them know that this is what heritage means to you. And
Yes, and hopefully through people like yourselves from the university, and how we can project that message back into the younger generation. Heritage is so important because it's such a loose term in many ways, isn't it? It's not only Punjabi, it's not only Hindi, it's not only Chinese. It's across the whole spectrum, isn't it? And if I look at my forefathers, my dad, he used to tell us about he Ranja, Medja, Seva, Sasipurnu, all those legendary or myths or whatever you call them, and they were wonderful. And and I compare them to Shakespeare. Here, Romeo and Juliet was only one.
yeah,
And you look at Punjab and across the board, I'm sure like the Chinese generation as well, culture as well. There's so many Romeo and Juliets, and Punjab is full of this colour, and I feel slowly we're losing it.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge is to go to younger people, and so that we can bring it resurrected through plays, through language that they can understand and comprehend.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. Do you collaborate with other organizations or partner to overcome financial?
Not at the moment. We will eventually. I think the more work we're doing, Kishore Paji and both of us are digging deep into this area. Collaboration for us is critical for us, because to your earlier question, first question, funding,
Yeah.
and also facility management. You don't have to always own assets or these environments. You can collaborate, and through collaboration, it evolves, doesn't it? It's a much better picture, but you've got to find the right organization, who has the right objective with you, that you blend.
Yeah, the aim should be like similar. The goal you need to reach,
Absolutely right.
that needs to be very like similar. Like you should be on the same page. It shouldn't be like they have a very different set of goals and you guys have a literally different set of goals.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm also curious about internal revenue. Are there ways Garden of Arts its own like income through workshops, performances, or digital platforms? Like, do they generate by like something like digital platforms, like posting something on Instagram or?
This is where, like you said, the young generation. I mean, my background's IT, but I'll commit that. I'll say that on camera. Old hacks like us. We can't do everything now. The technology has moved, and AI. All the wonderful progression technology that needs to be used are with the young people. So I think we are in your hands, and it's something that you should carry on. And the more we can tap into your support, and anyone who wants to help us to build the media to a point that it does become a monetary revenue stream. Hopefully we can do that.
At same time, accessibility is very important in community spaces. How do you balance keeping programs inclusive while ensuring financial sustainability? Like the way I told you about.
Yes, I think I know your the gist of the question.
Yeah.
Exclusivity. It's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you concentrate on Punjabi, I can focus on that.
Yeah.
But then heritage is much broader, and if you're going to serve the community around here in Sandwell and Dudley, it's not only Punjabi.
Yeah.
There's the Muslim community, there's the Christian community, there's the Hindu community, there's the Punjabi Sikh community, Bhangra, I mean, if you want to do that, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
So you gotta cater for everybody, and for me, even though we're a young organisation, hopefully, we can serve across the spectrum, and you know that's quite good because you get a lot more growth.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more activities happening, but that needs people.
Yeah.
So I'm confident. I'm very confident that we'll get there. You know?
Yeah, because I think the most important thing when you are like telling people about heritage is like to have an open mind, not a narrow-mindedness. And like if you have narrow-mindedness, you will only have heritage with you, not with the community. That's the amazing.
I mean, like I said, it's the mindset should be such that the objective, right, or the mission, the vision should be to project it in the community across the board, and the narrowness, as you say, comes from when you get sort of. You know, you look at one single mind or a single track, or you stereotype, or you know, that's not the way to. You know, you need to make it much more broader, and so everybody, like UK, it's a mixed community.
It's a mixed community, yeah. Do financial consideration ever influence the type of programs or artistic activities you choose to present?
No. I'm very broad-minded, and you know, I look at opportunity. It's like yourself, you know. You're a very artistic, a classical dancer.
Yeah.
And you know, my background is classical, and you know, I looked at the tarana the other day, and I looked up and I sing a tarana myself.
Yeah.
You know, classically I can perform it. You know, so now the raga structures and everything. You know, and I look at, for me that was great. Yeah. But then I can't just stop there and say, well, okay, I like tarana and I like classical music. I like, you know, I like a bandish and I like the classical aspect of it. And you, for instance, you know, perform the classical aspect. But you know, there's a whole different aspect. Like, you know, there's a Chinese culture here. There's Chinese aspect as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's you need to think much more out of the box.
Out of the box, yeah. Looking ahead, what kind of financial strategies or innovation do you think are essential for the future spaces like Garden of Arts?
Yeah, the financial strategy is basically, I'm going to give Kishore Baji a hard time.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember 7-8 months, you know, we were talking about, you know, let's be open here about grants and funds. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, Balaji, we haven't got anything, right? We haven't got anything to show for, right? And I used to get sort of a bit more sort of let's say worked up. Like I said, I come from a corporate world, a big, you know, into $1 billion company. You know, money was accessible, and he would say, "We're going to wait." And I see that now, and we've built this 10 months of work or 12 months of work. The media's there, you know. We got good projects like yourself. You're the advisor to us now, and we've got people like you know, Seva Paji, you know, to lean on and hopefully give us the direction and advice so we can move forward. And that way we can, you know, keep the strategy straight. Funds, yes, we'll be doing a lot more community work, hopefully.
Yeah.
But then my leniency is actually on Kishore Paji to deliver the goods now, because I think I've delivered mine and he's got to deliver his now. So.
One more, like on a personal note, what motivates you to continue this work despite the financial uncertainties and challenges?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Piyusha, and I thank you for asking me that, because it gives me an opportunity to express myself.
Yeah.
Really, fairly emotional sort of person.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, there is the family life. You know, there's your own sort of life at this stage, you know, in where I am. You know, I left a great career, fantastic career,
Yeah.
of 40 years, and And I look at it, what motivates me? You know what motivates me the most? You know, despite some of the challenge we've had recently and the negativity that's been around me, which is quite sad, really. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to brush that negativity aside and move forward. And if you can't do that, then, you know, my achievements in my life would be nothing. So I've always been a fairly motivated person despite the negativity around me, which I don't like. So to remain motivated, work with the people that I want to work with, young people, and I get exhilarated and I get excited,
Yeah.
you know, and I have a dream. I want the Garden of Arts to work. The flagship Virashkala, I wanted it to take to every town and every theatre. And that excites me, and it's different. It's different to my background.
Yeah.
And
It's like getting out of the box.
absolutely, it's a different dimension to my life. So it's something, you know, it's a legacy that I wanna leave behind. Yeah. So that's a big ambition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how heritage comes in. Like for me, heritage is like legacy that has been carried from one
Absolutely.
generation to another generation. So it's like you are giving us the legacy to motivate people and
Absolutely.
tell
I
about
hope
the
I
culture.
hope we can do it. Yeah.
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 And finally, what would you like audience to understand about the financial realities behind the beauty of Garden of Arts?
The reality is that it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that I think we've carved the way to a point where, as I said, those challenges that we had in the last 10 months there, we learned from them. We managed to learn how to brush them off, you know, and sidestep them and focus on the objective that we want to do. And it doesn't matter, you know, about the finance, the cost. We're willing to raise it one way or the other. You know, we will raise it. And even like I said when we started, we had no funding, nothing. So to come this way, this far, another year, you know, we're going to be at the peak. Yeah.
Yeah. Like last very question, I would say, any 3 words that would describe Garden of Arts for you?
It's a shared platform.
Yeah.
It's an open platform for everybody.
Okay.
That's more than 3 words.
Yeah.
It's open,
Yeah.
welcoming,
Yeah.
deliver the art. Yeah.
Thank you so much for like sharing your such a wonderful experience with
Thank you,
us.
Piyusha. Thank you.
And I hope you liked it very much, audience. And please comment down that whatever you have liked. And I guess we will be like posting something very, very, very soon that would be interesting for you. Thank you.
Thank you.